well, here I am. So, if you follow my social media at all, you know that unfortunately my relationship with 69 with CG did not go according to plan. I'm back on dating apps, right? And on Hinge, one of the guys that I started chatting with, one of his little prompts, like this little, if you're not on a dating app, like you get it's a little profile. It's kind of like a Facebook landing page almost, right? You see like the guy's like photos, like his favorite photos. And then there's a couple of quotes. You can put like your voice on there. You could talk about music, whatever. And one of them was adorable. He was like, well, I'm 47. I'm on Hinge. Obviously life didn't go according to plan. Just the way he said it made me laugh so hard, and we matched, and he's hilarious. Anyway, so, I was just listening to the last episode that I posted, and when I posted it, CG69 and I were making plans for him to no longer be long distance, right? So he had made the decision that, let's get back together, right? Because we had that, 3-month separation. He was like, let's get back together. And since long distance was so hard and the distance was really the only problem that we had, he was like, I'm going to talk to my ex, and I'm going to figure out a way to find a new job, at least temporarily, talk to his human children. And then he was going to move to New York with me because we knew that my PCS was coming up, right? So January of 2023, he needed help, a little bit of help financially. And then he needed help with a reliable work truck. And then he needed this giant ladder and all sorts of stuff, because he was doing, or he was going to do telecommunications as a contractor. So, me being my mother's daughter, I'm generous to a fault sometimes, so I decided to help him through Cash App. Like I gave him $1,000 cash for gas, things like that. I was helping a little bit here and there, wherever else I could financially, in smaller amounts. Of course, the 1,000 cash was kind of a big deal for me. And then when it came down to it, he was going to buy a work truck, much older, I don't know, a couple $1,000s or something. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, you're traveling from Omaha, Nebraska, right, to Horseheads, New York, in a really old work truck, and then you want to start working, and you need a good work truck. So, man, hindsight is 20/20 sometimes, and sometimes I wish I could go back in time and just hit myself in the fucking face. But I was like, I want to help you. My credit's good. Maybe I can buy something. You can buy it from me. I don't know. I was we're trying to figure out what to do. And then he was just like, well, if you co-sign for me, he was like, with your credit, I'll be able to get something in a couple days. And I was really kind of nervous about the co-signing thing. Never co-signed on anything with anyone ever in my life. My 3 husbands prior, anybody I dated or was married to prior to CG, I had never dated anybody who needed help financially. So for me, it was weird. I didn't know what to do. And, as I said, I'm my mom's daughter. She's one of the most generous people on the planet. And I didn't even tell her about it because I knew she wouldn't like it. So I thought about it for a couple of days, but then I was like, I love this man. We're getting back together. We're planning our future. Holy fuck, Tracy. He's leaving his human children in Omaha. He's going to come move to New York with you. Stop being a bitch, right? So I was like, go ahead and just get, help him, help him. You've already given him cash, right? You've already, given him small little DoorDash meals and random stuff, right? So she was, oh God, I don't even know. I remember telling my mom that he was moving, and she was just asking questions, and I was very vague. And I think that she knew that something was up, but bless her heart, she never really gave me her honest opinion. Turns out she never liked him, and she was awesome about that, because she is a great woman, I talk about all the time, right? She's the best fucking person on the planet. I talk to her all the time, but she is very careful with some of her opinions. Anyway, so I think she knew that something was up. Anyway, But I couldn't talk to her about it because I knew she wouldn't be happy about me co-signing. And I had never co-signed before. As I said, I never dated anybody that ever needed like financial help before. Everyone I had ever dated prior to CG or being married to, you know, everybody was financially secure. Like nobody needed help like that. So I didn't know what to do. And as I said, he was making this like grand gesture, I thought at the time, right? So anyway, so we started looking at CarMax. He found something he liked. We did like a conference call kind of thing, and of course the CarMax guy, you know, talks to me and is like, okay, you realize that you're co-signing on the phone? I'm like, yeah. And the guy's like, okay, this is the vehicle. These are the payments. He was like, no money down. My credit score is good, right? So he's like, no money down. He was like, but you're going to need to get insurance. I'm like, no problem. I'll call USAA, who are fucking awesome, right? So I was like, okay, no problem. Anyway, so we go through the steps of the truck. You know, I register it in New York, even though he buys it in Omaha, because you got like, I don't know, 30 days or something to get like a title. And then I was like, well, just figure it out when you get here. Just be safe, right? So he sells his stuff, gives away his stuff, packs up his stuff, you know, says bye to his family, and then hits the road, right, in this new vehicle. And then in the meantime, I'm helping him, like, you know, get tools and the little like round parts for the fiberglass, you know, ladder, whatever that's called. I'm helping him with all those little things. So that way, like once he gets to New York, if he doesn't find a job at that point, he can at least do some sort of contracting, something, you know, on the side just to help pay bills, because we both knew at that point I was going to PCS at some point, right? So this was January 2023. We assumed that I would PCS in October of 2023. And as I said, we were making plans to end the long distance. Anyway, okay, so easily the biggest financial mistake I've ever made in my life was co-signing on this vehicle. But okay, so let's cut to let's cut to the tell-all part of this episode. So I think it's pretty clear by now, even if you don't follow me on social media, our relationship ended, and it ended in a terrible, horrific, catastrophic, devastating, embarrassing way. So I helped him with the vehicle, helped him with cash, right? He made it to New York. He ended up like door dashing and like random things like that. And he ended up paying me back the $1,000 in cash relatively quickly. So I was pretty impressed by that. He was making the car payments. He was giving me money. So then I was paying for the car insurance. So basically he was paying for the car insurance and the car payments and the gas and everything. So I was just buying more food than I think, looking back in a partnership and a relationship, we should have been. Do you know what I mean? Because he was like living in my place. I'm paying all the bills, but why am I still buying him dinner and beer? But anyway, okay. So he makes it to me from New York, or makes it to me from Nebraska to New York, right? In January, he's going to start doing like DoorDash and odd jobs. And then like one day when I was at work, you know, because I'm still a recruiter, right? One day I was at work, he calls and he's just like, oh my God, I got a job offer, but it's in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And he was just like, it's just a lot of fucking money. And he was like, this is a great opportunity. It sucks because obviously I moved from Nebraska to not be long distance, but Carlisle's not that far. It's Pennsylvania. It's still on the East Coast. I can't turn down this money. So of course, me being supportive was like, holy fuck, right? But this makes sense in the long-term things, because at this point, he is making me believe that we're going to end up together, right? So he paid me back the $1,000. He's making the truck payments, the insurance payments. Like I said, I'm still paying for food and gas mostly, and beer, and it's annoying, but whatever. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if he goes to Pennsylvania for a couple months, I'm not PCSing until October. This could work. We're still long distance, but a much shorter distance, right? So anyway, we ended up doing that for a while, and it was actually kind of fun because he was in... and then he moved a little bit from Pennsylvania, different parts of Pennsylvania, and then a little bit of North Carolina within that like summer, fall. And he stayed contracting, and he was pulling in some good money. But I think, as most people know, any kind of contracting work that you do, for the most part, you're going to have like a great week, a shitty week, a great month, shitty month. He got laid off a couple times. He got fired once, maybe twice. I never really got the full story with all of that. Especially towards the end of our relationship, I feel like he hid a lot from me. Like 2 girlfriends, so that were not me. But we'll go ahead and get to that in a second. But the reason I wanted to get back to creating a podcast is I wanted to do the tell-all. I wanted to explain. I think tell-alls are important. They're kind of like whistleblowers. I think it's important to share your story, right? Especially if we know we live in a social media world, right? Not everything is a highlight reel that is happy, and I've always been transparent with my life, right? I've always been an open book, especially with the podcast. And that's mostly because, I want to entertain. My mission's always the same, right? I want to entertain. I don't want veterans, soldiers, really any human to think that they're alone, right? If I can make you laugh, that just makes me happy. Like if I can help you in the middle of the night because you're feeling sad, angry, what have you, like that's what I want. It makes me happy. Like, please continue to do that. I'm here. Like I will always be here. God, this is so hard. But the reason I wanted to do the tell-all is I'm a little embarrassed, right? Because I shouldn't have co-signed. I shouldn't have allowed myself to stay in a relationship with someone that was cheating on me for at least 60 days and lied to me about it every day. Had sex with this person who was married, and her husband had no idea, right? So CG was cheating on me with a young female who had 3 young children in Virginia, because he ended up working in Virginia, and had sex with her at least 4 times, unprotected, and didn't tell me about it, right? So I'm kind of like living my best life somewhat. Like I know I'm going to PCS at some point. I'm doing a slightly above job as a recruiter, doing what I can. And getting along really well, with the recruiters, friends I made in New York. Some of them I still miss. Ike is always awesome. I'm so lucky for him. And he was still going to daycare, and we're just living our best life. And we would see CG fairly often because he was a lot closer, right? So we started having like these little mini vacations, like 3-day, 4-day, 5-day weekends, what have you. I would drive up, he would drive up. We'd meet halfway. We saw some live music, a lot of great food, a lot of great beer. And then, as I said before, even though he was making a ton of money, somehow I ended up still always paying for dinner and beer and hotels and Airbnbs. And it was really starting to bother me, because I think there is a point in any relationship, and I'm a female, so I know it's slightly different, but I think there's a point in every relationship where it's supposed to be a give and take, right? Like my marriages were always like that. It was like, I'll get dinner, you get dinner, or whatever. I didn't feel that with CG. I felt like everything was benefiting him, right? I felt like if I wanted to see him for a weekend, I was going to have to pay for it, right? So anyway, this brings us to July and of 2023. His birthday's coming up. I wanted to do something really cool. I love birthdays, love celebrating people's birthdays that I love. And I was like, you know what? Let's go to Virginia Beach, because at this point he was working mostly in like the Lynchburg area, right? So I was like, let's go to Virginia Beach. I haven't been there in years. I love the Hilton. Let me just spoil you for this weekend. And again, why my mindset was like this, I don't know, because already at this point, as I said, I was kind of like paying for all his meals and Airbnbs and blah, blah, blah. So why did I pick a ridiculously expensive room in the Hilton in Virginia Beach for his birthday? But I did. And it was a really fun weekend. I got us like on the, I don't know, like one of the top floors, like 14th, 15th floor or something. It was like a beach view, beautiful. God, it was so beautiful. I love the Hilton. I want to go back. We had so much fun at the Hilton. They had like a rooftop bar and a hot tub and a pool. And, we were within walking distance from the Strip, and I bought him this cute little banner. It was like white and like rainbow colored, and it was like, it's my birthday, and I made him wear it. And it was fun because we were walking the street, and of course he's like a guy, right? And everybody would like whistle and say happy birthday. And it was like really cute. And a couple of like teenage girls like sung to him on the street randomly. Anyway, it was a very fun weekend, very expensive for me, because it was his birthday. And as I said, he wasn't really paying for things when we were together. So this weekend was like heightened, Anyway, within the course of this weekend, for his birthday weekend where we're celebrating him, he also seems slightly off, right? Because we were together for the whole weekend, right? So he seems slightly off. Like, we had, beer, we had some like, vodka drinks in the room, what have you. Of course, when we were on the Strip, we probably drank out too much. But I remember thinking, something feels off. This is like the end of July-ish, right? Of 2023. And I was like, I feel like all of a sudden he has his phone down, or I don't know where his phone is. Like, prior to this, when we would hang out somewhere, he would just leave his phone like in front of me and just walk away, come back, and then or other times he'd be like, I don't know where my phone is. Have you seen it? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's right there. The point is, like, he was always very open with his communication. And within this weekend was the first time that I noted to myself and had like this weird gut feeling that something was off, right? Like we met for breakfast like that first weekend, and he was just like staring at my food, and he was like, do you mind if I have a bite? And it was weird to me because our whole relationship at this point, you know, I don't know what, year and a half-ish at this point, we had always shared food. If you know me, I'm always going to share food. I love food. I want people to love food. So the fact that he asked me was weird to me. And then the phone thing was weird. And then like, he's always known my passcode. Most people know my passcode. There's nothing secretive about me in my phone. I never really knew his. He changed it a few times, which was probably a red flag that I never really paid attention to. But prior to July of 2023, if I needed his phone for some reason, he would unlock it or just hand it to me, right? So this was the first time I noticed something was up. This was July, right? He was also starting to say things of like, you know, I'm making so much money here in the Lynchburg area with the company that I'm working for. He was like, I don't want to move with you when you PCS. And it was weird because I was like, well, this is what we have been working for months, right? We got you out of Nebraska, right? You started working in Pennsylvania because you were starting making, you know, money. You got laid off, fired, whatever. So you ended up in Lynchburg. And he's like, yeah, but you know, like I'm making really good money. I like the town here. He's like he was doing fiber optics. I don't know what he's doing now. He was like, I don't have to climb because he has a little bit of a fear of heights. And he was like, I don't have to climb. And he was like, I can stay on the ground. I like the people. I really want to stay in Lynchburg. And I was like, wow, well, we really need to talk about this because I'm in the Army. I can't control where I'm going to go, you know? I can request Virginia and I can request, you know, somewhere around Lynchburg, but I can't guarantee it. And then it started turning into like an ultimatum. And I was like, wow, we're going to really have to figure out what's happening with life. But we kind of shelved that for a little bit, you know? And then October goes on. September goes on, you know, we see each other a little bit more, right? As I said, you know, we traveled quite a bit with our little trips. And then I was on a road trip with the recruiters, you know, because we were 3 hours from Fort Drum, right? So every once in a while we would go for like supplies or equipment or go shopping or a doctor appointment or what have you. But we always made it a fun road trip. Anyway, I was coming back from a road trip and I was on my phone in the back. We always traveled in a van and I always took the back as the only female. I was spread out and I was always in the back, like hanging out for the whole 3 hours with my feet up. And I was actually having a little bit of a nap, like listening to music. It's been a long day, right? Great day, but long day. It was a Friday. And I got a Facebook message and it was, you know, the notification lit up on my phone. It woke me up a little bit. And I opened it and it was a name that was familiar to me. And it was the name of the mother of the woman that was married that he had been cheating on me with for at least 60 days, the one I told you about, right? So it was a mom, you know, her name is A. Let's just call her A, right? So she, you know, sent me a message and I had met her briefly, like very briefly when I had went to visit CG for like a previous weekend, right? They all lived in the same house. They were roommates. Anyway, so she sent me a message. And like I said, we had met very briefly and recognized the name. I'm going to call her A, right? And then she sent me a message and she was just like, I don't know if you know who I am. She's very polite. She was like, or if you remember me, she was like, but this is who I am. This is how I know Corey. There's things happening that you should know and you don't know. And for some reason, my heart just dropped to my feet, right? And I didn't think she was crazy. I thought like, oh my God, this is kind of like, I felt like in a way I knew she was going to drop because remember he had started acting weird in July, right? So I felt like, holy fuck, this is it. The other shoe dropped, right? It's this Friday. I'm in the back of the van, you know, with the recruiters. And I'm like, holy fuck. I'm sure I lost all the blood in my face and everything. And we start messaging and she's like, can I call you? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be home soon. Can you call me? I don't want to talk now. I'm in the van, right? I was like, can you call me when I get home or I can call you, whatever. And she's like, yeah. So she's like Facebook messaging and she tells me that her daughter, I'm going to call her S, right? She tells me that her daughter had been having sex with CG for the last, 2 months or so. And she was like, I don't know exactly when it started, but I know it's been at least 2 months, right? She was like, and they just went to a concert together the other day. Ironically, I gave him money over Cash App so he could get some extra beer for the concert. So that really stung when I realized he took that money and probably bought her dinner or drinks or whatever. Anyway, so she was just like, I have proof, she was like, I'm not crazy. I just want you to know, because I think he's taking advantage of you. He's cheating on you, at least with her, if not with other people. I suspect with other people. She was like, he's drinking really heavily. He drinks, so much that he passes out, and, there's obviously problems. And she's just like, if this car is in your name and he's drinking this heavy, it's going to hurt your credit, it's going to hurt your driving record, she was mentioning things that I wasn't even considering at this point. Right. So as I said, we're both on the car title. I registered it in New York, but she's right. If he was getting tickets or, all sorts of random stuff, it would show up on my record somewhat, right, in the state of New York for the registration. Anyway, more importantly, I realized that he had been cheating on me, having sex with me. As I said, unprotected sex. So that really sucks on a completely different level, no pun intended. So, and I had no idea, other than I thought things were off. He every day, would call and text and, I love you. And, he was, flirty and cute on Facebook, and like, the public persona that he gave was that he was happy with me. Right. And then I was awesome and sweet and funny and loving. And, and Ike, my dog, is awesome, which of course he fucking is. But he had this whole persona of like, I love Tracy. Tracy's awesome. And then to realize that he's having sex with S this whole time. And S's husband doesn't know that this is happening. Like, he suspects something is off. And if it wasn't for, and I can say his name, if it wasn't for Eric, I would not have fucking known that this was going on, right? So A sends me the message. She sends me the message because Eric had finally looked at S's phone records, because they were married. And he noticed a number, which was CG's, like multiple times over text. And he's like, who the fuck is this person, right? So he goes on to social media and realizes that CG has liked every single photo, every single meme, every single post, every single everything that S has put on Facebook. CG's liked and loved literally everything. Like, it's creepy level. Like, literally everything she posts, he hearts or likes. So, of course, Eric, not stupid, is like, well, holy fuck, this is the guy, right? So he takes the number, he calls Corey. Corey, of course, doesn't talk to him. He basically pretends he's busy, doesn't hear the phone, never calls him back. So Eric tries to confront him. Nothing ever happens within that conversation. So then he confronts, his wife, S, and she admits everything. And she's like, yeah, we had sex 4 times. She was like, we never used a condom. I only slept over once. She was like, one time he couldn't even have sex with me. He was just so drunk, and way too much information that I didn't want, right? He's trying to be helpful, but I'm just kind of like, I just don't want it, So this is October, right? So that's why A reaches out to me, because Eric had just found this out like the day before, right? So he confronted S the day before. A reached out to me. So basically, in this 36-hour period in CG's life, he's having an affair, right, with S. Eric, the husband, realizes it, catches her, confronts her, tries to get in touch with him. This is basically in a 36-hour period, right? Within the same 36 hours, he's texting, calling, FaceTiming with me, love you, can't wait to see you. Like, he hid all of that for me, right? And that was one of the first moments that I realized, holy shit. Like, if he lies so easily and so comfortably about having an affair with me or, on me, what have you, like, there's something like really wrong with this guy. Like, cause who can be that calm and cool and collected, right? So, I mentioned it to, my best friend, and my best friend was like, he might actually be like a narcissist. I've been reading a little bit about narcissism. I'm like, really? Anyway, so this is a whole nother thing. But anyway, so this all happens. I have no idea, right? I go on this road trip. At the end of the road trip, like, I get these messages from A, and she's like, this is what's happening. She's like, if you don't believe me, my daughter S will speak to you. And I can, give you screenshots of like their conversations. She can too, in case you don't believe it. This is really happening, So I'm like, holy fuck, right? So I make it out of the van, freak the fuck out, make it home, take care of Ike. And then I literally just sit like on the carpet of the floor. It's a cute carpet, but I'm like not even in the sofa. I'm like on the carpet on the floor in my fucking living room. Like, holy fuck, what am I going to do? Right. I'm freaking out. Never in a million years did I ever think that CG would cheat on me. I had 100% trust in everything that he had done or said. And, like I said, I did think things were off in July. This is October, right? But I didn't think it was him having sex, specifically unprotected sex, right? So anyway, so I'm a little freaked out. Ike's okay. I'm home. It's a Friday. I don't even have anything to drink at this point. I'm just like stone cold sober, as they say, right? Like I'm just kind of freaked the fuck out. So I call him. He answers right away. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he's just like, oh, I just ordered food at a restaurant. And I'm like, are you by yourself? And he's like, yeah, of course. And he's like, why? What's going on? Are you okay? And I was just like, well, yeah, I really need to talk to you when you have time. And he was like, well, my food's on its way, which is him brushing me off, right? He could have been alone. I don't know. But I was just kind of like, I know food's coming, but this is really important. He's like, okay, what is it? And I was like, I got some messages. Actually, I ended up getting several hundred messages from somebody. And, the course of this, evening. And do you know S? Who is S? And he gets really quiet. And he's like, yes, I know who S is. And I was like, have you been cheating on me with S? And he's like, wow, we've had sex. And I was like, what? And he was like, wow, we're not really dating. It's not really an affair. We just have sex. And I'm just like, I've seen the text messages. You've been talking to her about buying her a house, which is comical to me, by the way. I was like, how are you going to buy her a house and then a big house? And he was just like, wow, what do you want to know? So it was this horrible conversation. He admitted everything. He said he was sorry. I stupidly am like, okay, he's sorry, right? So I'm like, okay, do me a favor. Stop communication with S in every fucking way. Right? So they were Facebook friends. Like I was like, in every way, stop being friends, on social media, stop all communication on social media. And I just need some time to process this. And I don't want to talk about it anymore. Right. So he's like, okay, I'm going to do it right now. He even changes his Facebook profile photo, which was just him and a dog, I think, to me and him, and tells her that he doesn't want to communicate with her anymore because I found out. Right. So, S ends up messaging me. I end up messaging her. She ends up giving me more screenshots, photos. Just terrible. Like, it's not what you want your boyfriend to be texting another female, right? So I was pretty upset, didn't know what to do. But I decided I was just going to think on it, because we had invested all this time and energy. I had thought, right? Like I'd given him money. He paid me back for the money, the $1,000, whatever. I've been spending so much money the last few months of like hotels and Airbnbs and food and all that kind of stuff. We're supposed to be moving in together when I PCS. We were starting to shop for houses. At this point, the Army was going to move me in like December-ish. 2023, which they ended up doing. And I ended up in Christiansburg, Virginia, which I love, by the way. Anyway, so we had started looking at houses because he was going to keep contracting and then end up with me in this part of Virginia, which is further than he wanted to be in Lynchburg, but still manageable, right? So I was like, God, we've made all this like time, energy, work. He seemed sorry. So I decided to give him another chance. So our relationship at this point definitely has changed, right? Because at this point, when I see him in person and he's on his phone and I knew he was cheating on me, I was just kind of like, it was hard for me to trust him and to relax because I was always like, who is he talking to, And a lot of times he would call his parents on speaker and I'd be in the room. He'd call his human children on speaker. I'd be in the room. A couple of his like male friends, what have you. And then all of a sudden he was like, I'm not all of a sudden, I shouldn't say that, but it had gotten to the point where he was like, I'm going to go make a phone call, and he would leave the room or he'd leave the house or what have you. Right. So things were definitely strained, because I wasn't feeling comfortable. He was trying to be nice and sweet and romantic, of course, and the whole bit, but I just realized that the trust is gone, and I don't know if I can get the trust back, right? So, relationship's a little strained. He goes back to working in the Lynchburg area, and then gets fired. So he calls me upset, and he was like, I got fired. I'm going to head to you. I think, the next day or two. He was just like, I need to figure out what to do with the little bit of furnishings that he had with him. Because at this point, he was like living in the house, with the roommate with A, right? As his mom. And he was like, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with my stuff here. And then I'm going to get on the road to you. And then I'll just like DoorDash or whatever until we PCS. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. But at the back of my mind, called my best friend. And I was like, holy fuck, I don't feel good about this anymore. And I was like, but he doesn't have anywhere to go. Right. So my friend is like, fuck him. He cheated on you. Right. But I'm like, I know, but like, he doesn't have anywhere to go. And we were making these plans, and he was like, all right. So move to November of 2023. CG makes it to me. He moves in with me officially. It's actually kind of cute when he moves in because, I have a little bit of reservations, right? So it's cute when he moves in. We rearrange the kitchen so that way he can have the blender for his protein shakes, stuff like that, right? So we rearrange my living room a little bit. I empty like a significant amount of my closet for his clothes. I empty like 3 or 4 drawers in the dresser. So it's cute, like we're moving stuff in. He's hanging out. He had been driving because, he was tired, right, from road tripping to me, and then he had gone to Omaha to see his family and his human children, and then, of course, back to me. So he was tired. He'd been driving a lot. But he officially moved in. We were really happy. We were celebrating. He was drinking more than usual. He's always been a guy that drinks a lot. I'm totally okay with that. My third husband was Irish. I'm okay with men or women who drink heavily as long as you're safe. Like if you're not driving, if you're at home comfortable, who gives a fuck? You're in your own home, So within this 5-day period, he was drinking more than usual, and it was kind of concerning me a little bit. But I was like, he's really stressed out. Like he doesn't have a job. He got fired. I don't really know the whole story. I don't want to keep asking him. Anyway, so those 5 days, he moves in, right? So, we're sharing meals and we're cooking breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's really cute. And I'm for the most part, I would say I was really happy, and then within this 5-day period on a Sunday, I go to bed pretty early anyway. And then I like to wake up early the next day. So I don't know, it's like maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. We're like in the front room watching TV. And a really cute 75-inch TV, which I still fucking love. I need to get an 85 soon. But anyway, so we're like watching some movie, having a couple drinks. I'm like, okay, it's Sunday. I got to go work tomorrow. I love you. Stay up as long as you want. Obviously, whatever you want to eat or drink, it's your home. Have a good night. Love you. And he's like, I love you. Be there in a little bit. I'm like, okay, bye. Good night, whatever. So we kiss. I go to bed. And it's so weird because I'm one of those people, I don't have dreams that often. And this particular evening, I'd been to bed, I'd been asleep maybe an hour at the most. And somehow I ended up in like a really vivid dream, which was unusual for me. And within this dream, it was my father's voice. And if you know me, you know that, we haven't spoken for a while. He's not with us anymore. But from my memory, it's his voice. And it's really loud and clear. And he calls me in the dream and he says, Tracy, Corey's cheating on you. I have a check. I'm going to send you the check. Within the check, it says to Lucille. And then in the memo line, it says for Sunset and Cuddles. And he was like, he's cheating on you. And it woke me up because it was very vivid. And I was like, what in the fuck? Right. So I read a little bit about dreams, like what they're supposed to mean in the whole bit. But this one startled me. So I woke up and I got some water and I was like a little shaken by it. And CG was like, are you okay? Because he was still up watching TV on his phone or whatever. And I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm just on Facebook on my phone, but I'm okay. And I was like, can I tell you about this dream? I had him a little disturbed. And he's like, sure. Right. So at this point, I tell him the dream. He like kisses my shoulder, whatever. And he's like, I don't know anybody named Lucille. We kind of laugh about it. And he's just like, I'm really not going to cheat on you again. He was like, we're going to get through this. And I'm just like, okay, well, weird as fuck, but okay, I'm going to go back to sleep. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to go to sleep with you. So he turns off the TV, puts his phone away, whatever. We get into bed. It's just a Sunday. Fucking no shit. I happen to glance. I have like an Echo, with the time on it. And I happen to glance at it, as I was like closing my eyes, and it was like just after 10 o'clock. And the phone, I wake up, so I look at the fucking, Echo thing, and I see it's almost 10 o'clock, and in my head, I'm like, fuck, I need to go to sleep. So I lay down, right, with my pillow, close my eyes, adjust my pillows. I love to sleep with 4 of them. And then all of a sudden, CG's phone is ringing, like he didn't have it on silent. And then of course the light flashes, right, his iPhone. And I looked over at him, and he's like in a panic. He's like fumbling for his phone to turn it off. And when he grabs his iPhone to turn it off, like, cause he's fumbling, I see a name. I know this name is okay to mention, so I'll mention it. And it's Ellen. And that's it. No last name. And I'm like, who's Ellen? Like, I've never heard that name before in conversation. In my head, I'm like, who's, I don't know, an Ellen. And I literally, this is not me, but because of everything that was happening in the fucking dream I just had, I was just like, I woke and I made a point of being like, don't go back to sleep. I want to talk about this. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, who's Ellen? And he's like, oh, it's some girl I used to date a while back. She's crazy. I don't know why she's calling me. And I was like, well, it's Sunday at 10 o'clock. I was like, call her back, And he was like, no, I don't want to call her back. She's crazy. I don't want to talk to her. And I was like, okay, with everything that's going on, please call her back and please put her on speaker, which is something I've never asked anybody to do. But obviously my trust for him was in the toilet, right? So he's like, okay. So he calls her back. I notice it's a Seattle area code. Calls her back on speaker. Before she can even say hello, he's like, hi, why are you calling me? I'm in bed with my girlfriend. So she kind of like, you can tell kind of is like shocked and doesn't know what to say. And then she's like, well, I was calling you back. And he's like, well, I don't want to talk. I'm in bed with my girlfriend, basically. Right. And hangs up. So she barely says anything and he fucking hangs up. And then he rolls over and he's mad. And he's just like, I can't believe you made me do that. And I was just like, what? So talking about narcissists, we're going to come back to this. So he turned that whole conversation into, it was my fault. Right. So this was Sunday night. We ended up having a little bit of an argument. I went to sleep. He made me feel really guilty for questioning who she was, right? This is classic manipulation from a narcissist. Anyway, so we'll go back. We'll talk about this in the next couple episodes. But I go to bed, go to work. It's Monday. A little bit busy at work. He and I chat a little bit. We have dinner that night. I don't remember what we made. I want to say it was like shrimp and spaghetti. I don't know. We had like a good dinner. Things were okay. Like we hadn't really talked about, Ellen or the dream. But things were fine Monday. Monday night, like I said, we have dinner, go to bed. Things are okay, right? Tuesday, I go to work and I don't know. I woke up for coffee and he said something to me. I don't know what he said. And I was like, I'm a little concerned because you've been here for 5 days and we really haven't had sex. And I was just like, in my head, I was like, are you having sex with somebody else? Like, it was just unusual. Too much information, but that was something that was always amazing with us. And we had sex a lot, right, throughout the day. So I was like, is everything okay? And he was just like, yeah, I'm just tired from the trip or whatever. And I'm like, okay. But still thinking it was weird because at this point he had, he wasn't supposedly speaking to us anymore, right? So anyway, so I go to work Tuesday. It's like a weird, like I said, disjointed conversation because, I'm like, why aren't we having sex anymore? Anyway, I know I sound like a female, but whatever. But I am fucking female. Anyway, so I go to work Tuesday. I drive to Syracuse with a couple of applicants. So he and I don't really text or call, which is very rare. And I remember the whole day thinking it's so weird that I haven't heard from him. I've been driving, so I really haven't texted or called him either, but it's a very weird vibe. But it's okay, Tracy, because we're living together now. Like, we'll just talk about it when I get home. So this is Tuesday, right? So I get home I get back to the office like at 6:30 on Tuesday. At this point, the house that we were living in was like 7 minutes from work, right? So I make it back to work. I drop off like the government keys. As I'm going to my Jeep to go home, I called him. He answers right away. And I'm like, hey, I was like, I just made it back to the office. I was like, do you need anything on my way home? Meaning, do you need beer? Do you need like, snacks, whatever? And he's like, no, I'm okay. And he was like, I love you. I'll see you when you get here. And I was like, okay, I love you. And he's like, love you. Okay, bye. So within the 7-minute drive, I'm like, oh, okay, we're okay. We barely spoke that day, but that phone call was great, right? So I make it home. It's like 7-minute drive, right? Once I opened the door, of course, I realized that his truck was not there. Opened the door, realized he wasn't there, and I realized that all of his belongings were gone. So it occurred to me that he packed up that day while I was at work and was gone, right? But had told me he loved me in the conversation and would see me in a few minutes. So it gave me a horrifying chill. I felt like this crazy serial killer vibe. It was freaky, right? Talked about narcissists, right? So I was like, holy fuck, what is happening? So once again, I make sure Ike's okay. I'm on the same fucking piece of carpet in my living room. And I called him. He doesn't answer right away. Calls me back and he's like, hey, what's up? I will never forget this as long as I live. I was just like, so what's going on? I was like, I just spoke to you. You said I would see you. You're not here. Your stuff's not here. What's happening? And I could tell he was drinking because, I could just hear in his voice he was slurring. And he was just like, well, I'm somewhere in Olean. I had a flat tire. I called USAA. They fixed it. I bought some new tires. And I was like, what? What the fuck is happening? I was like, all of this happened today. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you know what? He was like, I'm 47. I don't want to live with a female. All females are the same. He was like, I don't want to be nagged. And I was like, nagged? In my head, I was like, I don't nag. And then he was just like, you don't trust me. He was like, I can't be with somebody who doesn't trust me. Classic narcissist, right? He's the cheater and I'm the problem. So anyway, so he's going through this whole conversation, which initially is a peaceful conversation. I'm just kind of like, I can't believe that you left without saying goodbye. I was like, are you planning on seeing me again? I was like, are you planning on never seeing me ever again? And he's like, well, I just don't know yet. And I was like, well, where are you going? And he was like, I'm going to move to Phoenix. He has a friend there. He's like, I'm going to go stay on his couch for a while. And I was like, you don't have a job? And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm going to stay on his couch for a while. He was like, but I'm going to go see my family first. And I'm like, holy fuck. So I was like, so you're on your way back to Omaha? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, USAA is, taking care of me. And I'm like, what the fuck? Right. So I'm just kind of like, okay, if you're okay with leaving without saying goodbye, that's okay. It's a shitty way to end our relationship. But if you want to do that, that's okay. But what about the truck? Because my logical side was kind of like, okay, still registered in my name only, and I'm still in the fucking title of the car, right? And you're driving it away from New York, right? And he's just like, I don't know. He was like, I might trade it in. I might keep it. I don't know. And then I was like, well, you don't have a job, so we need to figure out how you're going to get the payments done, right? And how you're going to pay for the insurance. And he's just like, just leave me alone. I'm tired, because he was drinking, right? So he was becoming shitty. And then he was just like, you're fucking crazy. And he was going to all this classic gaslighting, right? And I was like, what makes me crazy? The fact that I want to know how the bills are going to be paid in something that's in my name. So at this point, conversation gets worse. Then he starts telling me I'm crazy, I'm fat, I'm old, I'm ugly, blah, blah, blah. And then he's going to wreck the truck, and he's not going to make the payments. He's going to hide it from me. He's going to destroy it. Like, he's just, drunk and crazy. So basically he hangs up on me. I don't know what to do. I think it's around midnight or so. I called the local police because I was like, holy fuck, what do I do? So I called the police. They came over and they were like, well, if his name's on the title, he's being a dick basically, but he's not doing anything illegal. They're like, if you think he's in New York still, they're like, we can call a couple troopers and we can kind of fuck with him a little bit, but we really can't do anything we can try to scare him, but it's his truck, right? The registration part, they were like, we recommend that you get it away from him. Like, he has to register it wherever he's going. And then the insurance, or obviously you figure that shit out. But, in New York, if you don't pay insurance for a vehicle, you can get fined like up to $1,500. They can take your license away. Like, it's a big fucking deal in New York. And I'm like, I know, whatever. Right. So they leave and they're like, we're really sorry, we can't help you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to call USA anyway, see if they can do anything. And then, this is who he is, right? So if you guys want to try to call him, right? So, okay, cool, right, good night, whatever. Small town, so it's fine. I go to bed. The next day, I tell everybody at work, right? And then they're all like, holy fuck, go to like the DMV right now, like forget work, take care of this, So that's when I start figuring out all the legalities of him, of what he's doing, right? It's immoral, but it's not illegal, So it sucks. And then I'm kind of like, I'm going to be stuck paying for the insurance and the payment at this point. And I'm like, fuck, and I'm moving soon. So I was like a little freaked out. So that's basically the tell-all of what happened. I decided to tell all of you on social media, on my Facebook, about what happened, about him leaving without saying goodbye. And then I decided to tell you guys about the fact that I couldn't forgive him because, he had cheated on me with this, with S, right? And then I decided to tell you guys that he talked me into co-signing. Wow, the co-signing happened and I think I'm fucked, right? So these were public, and I did them public on purpose because I believe in tell-alls, and I believe in whistleblowing, and I believe in letting whoever his next girlfriends are know what he's capable of doing, because nobody warned me. The reason I say this is because after I made those Facebook posts, guess who reached out to me? Ellen. So, turns out Ellen and CG were a couple for about 2 years, several years ago. He never mentioned her name. They were basically living together towards the end. She was mostly paying for his bills, all his food, all his drink. She would give him money here and there. Sounds very familiar, right? He needed a work truck. She helped with that. He needed a ladder. She helped with that. Gosh, doesn't this sound familiar, right? So this was years ago, right? And he had never mentioned her in conversation before. He had mentioned other girlfriends, but never her. And this was such a long relationship too. So I was kind of stunned. I was just like, wow. I believe it was the first relationship after his second divorce. So it was, to me, kind of significant, right? Like he never mentioned it. So weird. Anyway, so Ellen messages me and she is very polite and courteous. And she's just kind of like, hey, just saw your message. This is who I am. She was like, the ball's in your court. If you want to chat, great. If not, I totally understand, So then I, of course, message back and call, and we ended up becoming friends, and we ended up sharing stories that were almost identical of ways that he manipulated both of us for his gain financially. And she ended up trying to help me track him with the police, but we could never get him arrested for anything that would have been significant. So I'm grateful to her because she definitely helped me with the healing process of the shock of like, I can't believe I gave 2 years of my life to this person who ended up using me financially, had at least one affair with me, if not more, was actively trying to have an affair with Ellen. That's why she called that night, because he had been messaging her since fucking July. Remember I said July, birthday party had a weird vibe? Well, he started messaging her since July. Right around that same time, he began his affair with S. So if you know anything about narcissists, which I will share more in the next episodes, before they leave their main supply, they find a new supply. So he was working on at least 2 new supplies, right? S and Ellen. I'm the old supply, right? So he obviously discarded me. We'll talk a little bit more about narcissism, but the fact that he left me without saying goodbye on a Tuesday afternoon is classic. It's a classic discard. So, the reason I wanted to do this extremely long episode, and I apologize, with the tell-all, is because I wanted to get this information out there for you. If you are dating someone and you are feeling like you're being taken advantage of in some way, you don't have to. Like, you don't have to put up with it. Like, I shouldn't have stayed as long as I did. I don't know why I let 2 years go by of my life, but I did. I saw red flags. I saw signs. I started to begin to see narcissistic tendencies, and I still stayed. And all of us, women and men, we deserve better than that. Like, I'm a giver, right? I'm a little bit of like an empath, and I got royally fucked by somebody who's a taker, so there's lessons to be learned about everything. I wish that the last 2 years of my life had been spent in a different, more productive way. But at this point in my life, if I can help anybody, with my podcast and just in life in general, as I said before, I'm here to entertain. I'm here to let you know that you're not alone. I'm also here to shed light on issues. I'm here to teach. I'm here so you can be better than me. The next couple episodes, I'm going to share what I have learned about narcissism and narcissistic tendencies. And it's interesting because all of this is been helping me do some more research with just like mental health and illness and disorders. And it's extremely fascinating to me because it's not something I ever really looked into in my life. I've never had any kind of therapy, not opposed to it, just haven't had it. So, interesting subject. And I want to share what I've learned so you can always be better than me. So this wraps up this really long tell-all. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. I am back, right? This is this is literally the first episode of my next season, which is called The Art of the Con. And that's it for now. Bye.